Eagle, copy, com.
Go pending final steps to cabin link check. Is there anyone here that would like to communicate with us? Can you give us a sign?
Welcome to the R.I.F.T Nation Network, the R&N, putting a slide in your glide and a dip in your hip. Welcome to the mothership, the home of the travelers of the universe. With shows throughout the week, you can find us at Instagram, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and more. Everything you could want, everything you can need right here, right now. From the paranormal to the supernatural. From comedy to the spiritual. And now, your featured show. Shall we begin?
It's showtime, folks!
Podcast may contain material that some listeners may find sensitive, offensive, or disturbing. We strive to create respectful and informative content, but topics discussed may include mature themes such as violence, explicit language, or controversial subjects, triggering content including discussions related to mental health, trauma, or other sensitive issues, explicit language. Occasionally, our guests or hosts may use strong language. While we aim to handle these topics with care and empathy, we encourage listeners to exercise discretion. If you find any content distressing, consider skipping or seeking support. Remember that this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. If you need assistance, please consult a qualified expert.
Hello. I hope I am on here well. I think we're having some technical difficulties with Facebook, so it looks like I'm just going to be on YouTube right now. But I want to thank everyone for coming in. I appreciate you guys. Welcome back to Uncharted Realms on the RNN Network. As always, I'm your host, Ashley, and I thank you guys for coming. So tonight we have a special one I want to talk about that's really near and dear to my heart. It is the HATMAN, or some people call it the HATMAN. Some people just call him an actual shadow person. I'm going to talk about all the things. Hello, Kristen. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you. Let me go ahead and get my little HATMAN up here. Let's see if I can get it to load. Should have had this already. 1 second, guys. Let me get my guy up here. Let's see. All right. There he is. Okay. Thank you, Heidi. Hello. I'm so happy you're here. Thank you guys so much for sharing and liking and commenting. I appreciate you guys. So for tonight, I'm going to break down who the HATMAN is, or who we think it is. He, she, doesn't matter. I'm just going to refer to him as a him, but there is no real gender. I'm going to talk about cultural things. So what is he like for other countries around the world? What do they call him? Why he appears. We're going to break down sleep paralysis. Again, I'm not a doctor, but I have some insight and research on why we might hallucinate if we wake up in REM sleep. So I have like a whole lot, including a personal story of my own to break down. We're going to talk about description, why people might see him. Is it generational? Is it something to do with the bloodlines? Is it just random luck? We really don't know, but there's some theories behind that. Thank you. Hello. Is it Kassan? I hope I'm saying your name right. I'm so happy you're here. Welcome in. Well, first, let's talk about a basic of who the Hat Man is. So for reference, I want you guys to imagine you are sleeping in your bed at night. It is pitch black in your room. You don't have TV lights or nothing on, and you wake up and you know it's at the corner of your eye. Take sleep paralysis out of it. You're just regular sleeping. You can move around, but you wake up and you see this person that's next to me at the end of your bed or maybe in the corner of your room. All you know is he is a full black apparition. He has a hat on. He may or may not have glowing eyes. That is debatable depending on whose story it is. And he just watches you. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't really move. He's just there, and then he's not there. This might happen once in your lifetime. This might happen multiple times. And we're going to talk about why again. Just want to make sure I'm looking over. I don't want to miss anybody. I'm so happy you guys are here. Thank you so very much. Now, for description, Amy, welcome in. For description purposes, he appears to usually be about 6 foot tall, sometimes a little taller. It's going to depend on things like how tall are your ceilings in your home, you know, how big your room is, and it's going to be subjective to you, right? So if you're somebody with a tiny room, he might appear a little bit shorter than from somebody who has like 12-foot ceilings. But he's always very tall. He always has a brimmed hat. Some people call it fedora. Some people say a top hat. Some people have even gone as far as a cowboy hat. It's just depending on how you see it. But it's always, you'll remember that room. And the odd thing about it is, even though your room may be pitch black, he still stands out. So think about that. If you're in a pitch black room and some black figure is blacker than your pitch black room, that's pretty spooky. And a lot of people get scared, and some people don't get scared. I've even had stories submitted to me on TikTok where they'll say they're just watching TV and they'll look over, and in the doorway, there's the Hat Man or a shadow figure that's wearing that hat. I get a lot of stories. He is very popular. I want to say the Hat Man really boomed in the early 2000s. Art Bell, if you guys know who Art Bell was, he passed away, but Art Bell, Coast to Coast, he used to go have his radio show. I think they still do Coast to Coast, but somebody else does it. And he talked about it one time. And after he talked about it, thousands of people were submitting stories saying, hey, I've seen this Hat Man, or I've seen this figure in my room. It follows me. I've had one case that I was working on where she said she had moved multiple times throughout her life since she was a kid and constantly saw the Hat Man. And then I have people that said once they've seen it once, never again. Of course, they're still alive and there's still time, but just to give you kind of a reference on how, you know, different it can be. I'm so happy you guys are here. So let's break it down to how it all started, and let's talk about some different countries in our world and different cultures and what they refer to the Hat Man as versus, you know, what for us it's just a 6 foot dark figure, brim hat. We call it the Hat Man, but in other countries they have similar entities that look like the Hat Man or is their version of the Hat Man. So I want to break that down. Yeah, Art Bell is an amazing human being. I used to love Coast to Coast. I know it still goes on. I don't listen to it like I used to. One of my favorite episodes, if you guys ever want to listen, I'm not telling you what to listen, but he did. I'm a big on demonology, and it's my number one passion besides, of course, motherhood. As far as paranormal and all, my passion is demonology. Studied it, took classes, big. So when he had Malachi Martin on his show, and I think he had him on the show for like 3 hours, it is an amazing, you can go back and watch it. But it was an amazing one that he did. I really, really enjoyed that one. But that has nothing to do with Hat Man. So let's get back. Just want to throw that out there. All right. So let's talk early 17th century. Okay. Sorry. It takes a second for me to get these pictures. I'm working on trying to get it seamless. Okay. So when we think back to the Hat Man in the 17th century, it's a little bit different. So for them, they had this version. So in this picture is depicted that is a witch hunter. So we know that back during the witch trials and everybody was a witch and everything like that, what they would do is they had their own version in England of a man with the brimmed hat, but he would affect you on a supernatural level. So he guarded the spirit world, and he was a witch hunter in the spirit world. So he would go through that, and if you were a witch, he would hunt you that way. That is their lore. I didn't create that. That is their lore, but it's really cool. And it kind of gives you a thing. So I just showed y'all a picture on what is depicted as the Hat Man now. But look at this witch hunter back in the 17th century England. They wore that same hat, and it's pretty cool. So it makes you think, do our minds kind of register? Obviously, I wasn't born back then. But over time, does our minds register certain images? Obviously, witch hunters were evil, whether they were in the spirit realm or they were in this realm. What they did was horrible. So do we automatically, our minds automatically take a snippet of that and transfer it to, if there's an evil entity, it's supposed to look like this, right? So that's just a thought to put in your head. I'm not saying that's true, but that would be 17th century England. And then we move forward to the Industrial Revolution. And during the Industrial Revolution, what was happening was we were having child labor. So back then, you were a child, you worked all day, until stop every day. So there was a lot of kids back then. Which country did I say? I'm trying to think which country did I say it was in. It was in, oh my goodness, I think it was somewhere like, not in England, but maybe in Germany and things like that. But they would see this man at night. They said he had a long face and he was completely pitch black. They called him the Black Man, not the Hat Man, because it's kind of iffy. Some of them said he had a hat, some of them said he did not. So for them, it was the Black Man. Long face, stood in the corner of their room and watched them sleep, and it affected them. Now, a lot of these stories are based around children that were getting sick, families that had people pass away, during these times, illnesses, they took you out, versus this. Now we have Western medicine and antibiotics and things like that. So that kind of brings us to where, how we're getting started. So that was 17th century. And then we have the Industrial Revolution. Then we're going to go over to Germany. I just want to make sure I do these in order of how I had it. And Germany, where did he go? Oh, here we go. Okay. So I'm going to be doing some different lores throughout the world. So in Germany, this is called Der Schwarze Man. So he pretty much is their version of folklore. This man will come and take you if you're a child and you're disobedient. He wears that big hat. He usually dresses in all black. And it's kind of what, for some reason, over in those countries, if you look into superstitions and things like that, they use a lot of really scary stories to make their kids behave. It's really wild. So again, this is their Germany's version of the Hat Man. He would come and get you if you were a disobedient child. And there's even stories that adults said that he bothered them, but mostly it was centered around children, and you didn't listen to mom and dad. Their version of the Hat Man was going to come and get you. That's Germany. And let's see, next we're going to go to the Middle East, if my thing wants to load. So this is not Hatman, but it's the closest thing for the Middle Eastern cultures of a Hatman. So they believe, obviously, okay. So obviously, if you are Middle Eastern, they believe in, hey, Bob, welcome. Yeah, Facebook's not working, guys. So everybody has to come over to, I think everybody's realizing they had to come to YouTube. I should have made a post about that. I apologize. So in Middle Eastern, they believe in shadow people, but their biggest thing are jinns. It reminds me of the first spirit I ever saw at the age of 10 was a man standing in the corner of my grandpa's room after my grandpa passed. No hat, though. Yeah, so what you're describing is your average shadow person. So a lot of people see shadow people, and then every once in a while, that shadow person will have a hat on, which then coincides to the hat man. Is really interesting. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate you sharing. In Middle Eastern culture, they live on a parallel dimension. So they're always side and side with us, but they're able to, we could talk about dimensions on a different live, but they're able to bounce back and forth. And for them, a jinn can take any form. It can be good or bad. There's good jinns, there's bad jinns as far as their culture is concerned. And they can take any form they want. They can look like a man, woman, child, pig, goat, whatever. The reason that they coincide with the Hat Man is because sometimes they will appear as a figure with a cloak and a hat. So that's their closest version that the Middle Eastern culture has to the Hat Man. Again, the jinn kind of covers the umbrella of a lot of spooky things over there, and they can take any form because they have that ability. Different universe, different parallel dimension, but right next to us. So that is over in Middle Eastern. And then I want to go to South Africa next. Okay. Now, in South Africa, the lore is this guy right here, the Tokoloshi. He is a very mischievous, hairy creature. And he doesn't always appear shadow like, but he does tend to wear a hat and a cloak. So in South Africa, he is your version of our modern day HATMAN. So if you live in that culture, or that is your culture, you will know who the Tokoshali is, and he will haunt you at night. Let me see. People often, I made a note of this, I wrote it down. People often in South Africa raise their bed up to keep him out. It's a really cool culture, lore, if you ever want to look into this one. Hello, Michelle. Welcome in. I'm so happy you're here. So again, this is South Africa. So we've talked about Middle Eastern Germany, Industrial Revolution. We talked about 17th century England. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. He is really big time blamed for sleep paralysis. Now I'm going to talk about sleep paralysis in a few minutes as it appears for the HATMAN, but he was the closest to South Africa with the HATMAN and what he does. Again, he may appear in a hat and a cloak. Welcome in, everybody. I'm so happy you're here. And he will haunt you, and he will cause sleep paralysis. And I will explain how that works in a second. I've actually had a round of sleep paralysis myself, which was not fun. Okay. Who am I? Oh yeah, we're gonna go to Latin America next. I have it in order so I don't mess it up. Now this particular one, I always butcher his name because my Spanish sucks. El Sombario. He is their version. As you can see, he's in all black and he wears a hat. Now, of course, he has the Hispanic version of a hat, which is really cool. Now, he mostly affects women. It's really crazy, the lore. He is said to come to your bed at night and he will braid your hair and change your and affect your thoughts. So you'll go to bed with your hair all down and everything. And if you woke up and you have a long braid in your hair and there's no one else in your home, then El Sombrero man right here, he didn't came to visit you. You will probably have sleep paralysis. You're probably going to have some really wild dreams. You may wake up and see him. You may not. Usually his little ticket card is you'll have a nice long braid in your hair. So this would be, any of your Latin Americas. It's a really cool lore too. I love all the lores, but this one is really crazy to think that a spirit can braid your hair while you're sleeping. That is really freaky to me. I don't particularly like that. Let me make sure that I didn't. I'm going to skip over North America because I'm going to talk about that because that's us. But again, this is our Latin ones. And then what was it? Okay. Make sure I didn't miss any countries. Okay, Australia. Okay, here we go. So in Australia, their version of a HATMAN doesn't necessarily wear a hat. They're more of the version of shadow people, but they are called the Dark Watchers. So pretty much what they do is they kind of hinge on giving you visions. They're not always bad spirits. Sometimes they give bad visions, or what you appear to be a bad vision, and sometimes they give you good. But they kind of watch you from a distance. And this picture is depicted there in the woods, but for all intents and purposes, something like that's your bedroom. Yeah. Kind of helpful. Yeah, they're I don't know. It's really hard to tell people, oh, this right here is not always bad because it looks, most people would see that and pee in their pants. I probably would too, but unless I'm in an investigation unprepared. But, so they're not always known to be bad, but they hinge on vision. So this one's not just watching you. Well, they are watching you, but they're for a purpose. If you see this in this country, you're getting a vision. Once you change your pants. Okay, one more country, then we'll come on back to America and talk about this one's pretty spooky too. Akal, whom I believe is the original landed owner here, the HATMAN, although he's not a shadow person, but does wear a hat. Ooh, looks like Slenderman. Hi Don, thank you for coming in, everybody. I'm so sorry about Facebook. I don't know what's going on Facebook. So this, let me make sure it's the Kuro Bozu. So this was not really a HATMAN, but again, I'm just giving you guys the closest version around the countries. Does he? Oh, the one. Who was it? Was it Heidi? Are you the one that said you have the landowner? Does he appear in your room? For some reason, the Hat Man's always either the bedroom or while you're watching TV, and it's really freaky. And it's like, why? Why do you have to disturb me while I'm sleeping? It was you, Heidi, right? I'm sorry if I'm because the chat moved fast. So when you see this guy right here, the lore says he is a monk that didn't. Let me see. Skirted away from what he's supposed to do. So like a monk that did not do the right thing, or maybe did everything but what he was supposed to do. So he became this. So you know how they have different spiritual. If you don't fall in line, you don't do exactly what you do. You kind of go to the darker side of it. Well, there you go. That's what this appears to you as. Walks down the hallway. Walks down the hallway. That's freaky. You need to get a picture of that and send it to me. I would love to see it. Let me see. Oh yeah, broke. That's what it was. I wrote down broke their vows. Now they mostly appear when there's a spiritual imbalance. So usually, if you are a very, very good spiritualist, if you like, you're really everybody's gifted, but let's say you're a practicing spiritualist, right? You do everything, and there's an imbalance, right? There's an imbalance somehow. Maybe you're being affected. You have oppression, whatever is going on, then this creature is like, oh no, something's wrong. The balance is off. Because remember, over there in Japan and in China, they're very much yin and yang. Where there's good, it has to be a perfect circular balance. And whenever somebody or something messes that up, it gets chaotic. So this one kind of appears to say, of course, when you're sleeping, knock, 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 there's something imbalanced here. Let's fix it. I don't know why they always pick nighttime. Is it spirit or human? So Heidi says spirit. I've seen him since the first day I was here. I wish they would just appear during daytime, sunny day. Business hours. I always say when they wake me up at night, can you just come back during the day? I promise I will listen to you. Just please. I'm an autism mom. I don't get much sleep. So now you're disturbing me while I'm sleeping. Thank you for sharing that, Heidi. For me, that is so cool because again, I'm an investigator. So anybody tells me they have a ghost in their house, I'm like, oh, Christmas kid, like, yay. I want to see. Let me just make sure. Did I miss anybody that's from another country that I wrote down? I have to write my notes down so my mind doesn't go boom. No, I already talked about that. Okay. Let's talk about, before we get into sleep paralysis, because that's a really big one. Let me bring up the Hat Man back up so we're not seeing this guy bother this woman. Okay. Is he going to come up? There we go. Okay, Hat Man. Why do we see the Hat Man? So sleep paralysis is a really big scientific reason. If you was to ask a skeptic or a scientist or a doctor, again, not a doctor, but they would say it's all sleep paralysis, and I'm going to explain why they think that. But before we get into that, let's talk about why you might see the Hat Man generally. I think the pathway is more residual. There's no interaction. Ooh, that makes sense. So anybody doesn't understand that, when you have residual hauntings, think about a time loop. So the same soldier walks the same path over and over again. He's not going to interact with you. You're not going to stop him from his path. He's going to continue to repeat that. That is a difference in case anybody doesn't know, a residual haunting versus what we call an intelligent haunting. And then, of course, there's demonic and things like that. Intelligent haunting, they're going to interact. You're going to say, hey, is anybody here? They're going to be like, yep, I'm over here. If you're lucky. And then a demonic haunting, obviously, some other things are going to happen. But residual is that constant time loop. Just think of a loop over. Same, the Roman soldiers walked the same path. Gettysburg, the soldiers. Somebody that had like a mass casualty, that scene repeats itself. You'll see a woman in a castle walk in the same hallway with her lantern or her candle, waiting for her husband to come back from the war, from the ship. It happens, and it's the same day, same time. So, a little tidbit on that. I get sassy if you deserve my slumber. Yep. I'm gonna be like, nope, go away. Now I'm like, I got the Palo Santo ready for you. Spray. My spirits are around day and night. Yeah, mine are too, Michelle, but mine are really sassy and decide that nighttime is like, you know what? You didn't listen to me all day. Let's play. And I'm just like, I'm one of those people that never can sleep without dreaming. Like I told my doctor one time, I was like, how do you not dream? I know that sounds really weird, but like I never know a night that I don't have a dream. And my dreams are so vivid. And it's like I'm running all night, and then I wake up and I'm like, I'm tired. Michelle, I need spirits to have banker hours over here. I need spirits to start picking up a broom and a mop, maybe a dish or two. They are. So if you're somebody, it depends on your belief system. So there's some cool theories on that. So sometimes people believe that spirits are here 24/7. There are people that believe that they pop in and out. So if you're somebody that believes in heaven or consciousness or wherever you believe, spirits, purgatory, whatever, wherever you believe a spirit goes, when we drop this meat suit, they say that they go there and then they can pop in, they pop back out. And then there are some people that say that there's just a different parallel dimension. There's, like I just said about the jinns that are constantly parallel to us. And every once in a while they kind of peek their head over like, hello, and then they pop back. There's like so many theories on how this happens, and I love them all. So why you might see the HATMAN. You're sleeping. Let's say, so one big one is trauma response. There's billions of different forms of trauma, but let's say you are in emotional distress. You just lost somebody very close to you. Your marriage has just failed. You've lost, a family member. You're depressed. You're bankrupt. All these things that cause serious trauma manifests, right? So sometimes when we go to sleep and this is building and manifest, sometimes it can create this manifestation of this figure for some theorists. Hello, Ryan. I'm so happy you're here. Get to clean the car. Get to clean. I said car. Get to clean, Casper. Yes. My pineal gland is calcified. I never see spirits. Kaysan, I'm so glad you brought that up. Do you guys know last week I did a gland decalcification activation with my mentor, Glenda. She's not in here right now, but she pops in sometimes. She did like this whole class and she had us do this thing, and she does her thing and cleans it all up for me. And I feel so much better afterwards. It's pretty cool. But some people enjoy not seeing them. Grief is a big attraction to them. Yes, Heidi, absolutely. Let me showcase this one. I'm sorry if I keep forgetting to do that, guys. I apologize. But I try to read them all off. Had some interesting nights for real. Yeah. I'll tell you guys about my sleep paralysis when we get to that section. It was really entertaining. Not for me. So grief, trauma, you're dealing with a whole lot right now. We manifest. If you're always in a funky mood, I'm not saying that you got to be giddy and happy and lollygagging every day, because it's life, and life sometimes is a pain. But if you're in that slumber energetically, you're going to manifest this stuff. You're going to be exposed to this stuff, where if if somebody's enlightened, it's a little bit different. So grief is a really big one, any kind of trauma. So you'll start seeing them, because our brain, what happens when our brain is in fight or flight mode, right? It's constantly go, go, go. You're either going or you're fighting. Which one are you doing? So you start manifesting this stuff. So then we have sleep paralysis. I'm going to skip because we're going to do that in a second. Generational or family hauntings. So sometimes, and I've actually had a case that I met, they've been talking to me and they were really breaking it down for me. And their parents saw the HATMAN, and there's no lie, every generation after that, including the siblings, all see the HATMAN. Now, a lot of people will say, well, of course, if your mom and dad's telling you they see it, you're going to see it too. So there is that skeptical side. Now, I believe them because obviously I've spoken to them. They have no reason to lie. They don't gain anything from lying. So is it generational? Is, let's say, 6 aunts back, did they do something that welcomed this in, and now each generation it is following? Again, I've had somebody tell me that they have moved 3 times in their life and they still see the HATMAN periodically when they go to sleep. They moved and everything, and he's still following them. So is it generational? Is it just you? Did you do something? What is it about you? There's a big thing about generational. There's generational trauma, there's generational curses. When you get into generational stuff, it kind of gets funky. So does he get attached to certain generations? And especially like when you start looking at Native American lore, because Native American culture has their own version of a HATMAN, and he tends to follow throughout generations. So if that is your thing, sorry, that was my daughter. She's at prom, so making sure she's okay. Then you're going to continue to see him. Now, let's think about blood types. There is a theory that if you have a certain RH negative factor, you're going to have a lot more supernatural occurrences. I don't know that to be a fact, but I hear that. So people that are RH negative, O negative, when you get to like those specific blood types, those people tend to occurrence hauntings. They see spirits better, allegedly. They might hear their clairs are a little bit stronger. I think that anybody's clair can be strong as long as you practice and you you do your thing and grow it. But these people tend to naturally just boom. So is it a blood type factor? I don't know. I am Rh negative in case anybody cares. The only reason I know that because I've had a few babies and you get tested each time. Obviously, if you are somebody that's spiritually sensitive, so are you an empath? Do you do mediumship? Are you a psychic? Are you some form of healer? Do you practice Reiki? Anything that deals with the spiritual realm, you are more inclined to see the HATMAN because you're pretty much you already ride that line, right? Your foot is already on that dimension. So you have 1 foot. I always say I have 1 foot on this realm, and I'm 1 foot in the spiritual realm of behind the veil or whatever you want to call it. So you're more inclined to see him because they're like, oh, he or she knows what we are, so we're gonna just pop on in and say hello. I am O negative blood, RHA negative. I didn't know. Oh, I didn't know that was a thing. Michelle, I think you're the first one I've seen with that one. But then again, I don't ask everybody, hey, what's your blood type? That would be a little weird. I'm actually O negative and RH negative. So yeah, there's that. So if you are somebody that has these beautiful gifts, which probably everyone in this chat probably does, I know a few of you do personally. I'm not going to call you out, but I know you do. So you might be inclined, and again, it may not be the HATMAN in particular. You might just be more inclined to see shadow people, see shadows. Sometimes we will see, hi, you're O negative, rare. Yeah, I would say definitely rare. Yeah, I'm RH negative too. Look at all of us gathering in here that are negative. Isn't that funny? I often think that obviously like-minded people gather, but you ever think that sometimes other things cause us to get, that's a kind of a ramble. The Native American version is called, yes, you're right. It is. It absolutely is called that. Let me pull that up so everybody can see. Although I think only YouTube is working right now. You're absolutely right. I love, if there's anything you guys want to read on, Native American legends and lore are so phenomenal. I could read those for days. I adore Native American culture. I don't know my blood type. Well, you can if you ever get a checkup, you can ask. Again, the only reason I know is because when I had the babies, they were like, oh, you're RH negative. You got to have the shot. I have a theory behind that too, but I won't say that here. But anyway, so generational connections, bloodlines. Is there something? A lot of times people that have RH negative blood, they say it's related back to extraterrestrials. You have to, I don't want to sway you either way. That's just a thing they say. If you see him, sometimes people that see him, it kind of goes back to trauma. But if you have experienced something evil, like if you have had something where, let's say you've had a demon in your home, or you've experienced a demonic figure, or even like man-made, if you have watched somebody pass away violently, you might be more inclined to see him. It kind of happens, something tied to that. I'm terrified of blood. I don't remember mine either. Yeah, I don't really, like I said, I know a lot of people like really go deep on that. And then if you're somebody that practices rituals and things like that, it's something to know because it goes along with the work. But again, the only reason I know is because I was popping babies left and right. So if you have witnessed violence or demonic energy, then you may be more inclined to see him. I am not saying he's a demon. I don't think the HATMAN is a demon at all. But some people will say he is, and I'll explain why I don't think he is in a minute. Bloodophobia. I never heard. I wonder what the technical term is for that. There's a term is bloodophobia. I like that. I was talking to somebody today about vampirism. I'm trying to find somebody so if anybody knows anybody that says they're a vampire or lives a vampire lifestyle, I would love to have them on. little notes. But I was talking to somebody today about that, but they don't want to be interviewed, and we were laughing about the whole blood thing. So when you said bloodophobia, that reminded me of that. Warning or omen. So let's talk about that. So sometimes there's a lot of spirits that will appear when there's something, especially like doppelgangers. If you ever see a doppelganger, that's a really bad thing. Allegedly. No blood. Like I've met a few people that partake in that consumption. Not me, but they do. And to each his own. I just wish they would want to be interviewed, but most of them don't want to be on camera. I'm working on it. So, does he appear before something happens? Remember, I did my live 2 weeks ago on the Mothman, and a lot of people I believe that when Mothman appears to warn us, not to make anything bad happen, but to warn us. So, is it possible that Mr. HATMAN says, "Hey, you need to pay attention. Something's getting ready to happen"? I don't really think so, but that's one of the possibilities I like to throw out there. Now, I want to talk about sleep paralysis, and then I'll talk about what I personally think he is in my experience with sleep paralysis. So, let me see here. Now, has anybody here? I've seen something a couple times, once in the Middle East. Oh, was it a jinn, Dawn? It might have been a jinn. Let's see. I want to do this one first. Was it a jinn? I'm telling you guys, a lot of our soldiers have seen jinns. A lot. And Don's a soldier, guys. He's a Marine. Just calling you out there. But a lot of soldiers that have been to war will report that they have seen jinns. And it's really cool. I've looked into a lot of research and talked to people. I love getting stories. And it's because, again, they're over there. It's really popular there. And it's a big thing. Must have been. Yeah, it could have been. It could have been something. It could have been a shadow person. I'm just throwing things out there. So let's talk about sleep. Now, this is a MRI image. Obviously, the first picture is what your brain looks like when you're awake. And then when you have normal sleep, so when you first start going to sleep, because you know our sleep goes in cycles. And then the last one is REM sleep. Look at that. So just to be clear, I'm not a doctor. I cannot give medical advice. This is just for educational purposes. If you're having sleep problems, obviously see an actual doctor. But so what happens is you fall asleep and you go through your first stage when you're going. And then when you hit REM sleep, that's where you're dreaming. And what happens to your body is your brain paralyzes your body because it doesn't want you to act out your dream. So if you're dreaming you're running, your body's not going to start, if you don't paralyze, you're going to start running across the room and smack the wall. Now, granted, I know there are people that sleepwalk. So there's some kind of disconnect between the brain and REM sleep and the paralyzing part when you sleepwalk. Again, that's like technical, that's a doctor thing. But it happens, and that's why sleepwalkers will act out their dreams. And when you partake in certain sleep medicines and it messes up your REM sleep, that's why sometimes they will really hallucinate too, because your body and your brain doesn't know what it's going to do, especially if you have a bad side effect from it. Not to say don't take them if you need them, do what your doctor says, but some people have weird side effects. So what happens is when you're sleeping and you hit REM sleep, you're dreaming, and your body is completely paralyzed. And then every once in a while, you will wake up before your brain has clicked you off of REM sleep and your muscles have let up. So when that happens and you wake up and you're still in REM sleep, you can't move your arms, you can't move anything. Sometimes you can usually move your eyes and sometimes you can speak, some people can't. Your eyes, and that's about it. And it's usually only seconds, but it's forever. And so if you're sitting there and you're paralyzed and you're looking around the room because your brain is still manifesting dreams and everything like that, every once in a while, you will see a shadow person or the HATMAN or any kind of figure maybe in the corner, because again, we're looking and we switch back and forth. We kind of see corners easier. And so that kind of happens. The DMT, yeah. So, yes. So this happens. Now, I'll never forget. This is a true story. I don't know what I did wrong at this particular point in my life. This has been years ago. RH negative is the 15% of people, mostly of those in European descent. I need to look up that, Michelle, because I'm RH negative, but I have no idea. Like I know like my mother's side, but I don't even know my father's name. That's the whole thing. So I don't know what's in me. I know that like there's some Irish and there's some Italian and there's some other stuff, but I have no idea. So I need to look that up because I need to know where I come from. I'm probably my family's so mixed up we don't know. But so one night I was sleeping, and my daughter, she's 5 now, but she was a baby then, so this has been a few years ago. So I'm sleeping really good. David, my other half, he's next to me in the bed. My baby's crib is over the other wall, and my bedroom door is cracked open because I had other little kids so they can come in if they need me. Well, I woke up, but I could not move. When I tell you guys, I could not move in my brain. At this point, I'm scared because, you know, if your eyes are open and you can't move, you're like, holy crap. And in my mind, I'm trying to lift my arms. I want to grab David because I need to grab something, but I can't. And I'm not kidding you. I saw a spirit walk into my room, look at me, and then turn around and leave. And when it did, it let off my arms. And when I tell you, I reached over and I like scared David up because I like jerked him up out. I couldn't. He's 6'3" and he's a big guy, but I grabbed him and he's like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, "I couldn't move." That's a true story. It didn't bother me. As far as spiritually, I was not bothered, but I was like really angry and scared because how dare you paralyze me? And I did. I did. I just like straight palmed him up, and he's sound asleep, living his best life, and I'm like jerking him up, like help me. But at that point, I was back to normal, and normal day, nothing traumatic happened. I have no idea why that happened. That was the first time. The second time I woke up and I could not move, but I didn't see anything around me. So in my 38 years of life, I've had 2 episodes of sleep paralysis. I hope I never do again. But I want to share that because a lot of people, especially our skeptics and anyone who would be scientific would say it's all because of sleep paralysis. But not everybody sees the happens. So this is, you really can't see this, but it's pretty much the symptoms of sleep paralysis, your inability to move or speak, pressure. Sometimes you'll feel pressure in your chest, hallucinations, rapid heart rate, because obviously you're scared. I'll give you the reasons, and feeling of being watched. Again, usually it's seconds, but it feels like forever. And there are people that like really suffer from this too many times to count. And then there's one more thing. Do I have it? So there's this thing, and especially in the paranormal, we call pareidolia. So our brains, has nothing to do with sleep paralysis in general. So our brains are meant to see patterns. They will purposely make patterns for us. So if you look at something and there's like a shadow with something that's naturally caused, our brain will make something out of that. So in this picture right here is a perfect form of pareidolia. If you look at the floor, it looks like a face. There's no face there. It's the way that the light is shining on the floor. But our brain automatically will see a face. And then you're like, holy crap, what is that? But technically it's nothing. But I use this picture because it's a perfect form. Because sometimes we'll look at a picture and we'll see a face in a window. We'll see a face, and as a paranormal researcher, we want everything to be paranormal because it's cool and yay, we got the evidence. But you have to really break it down. Is it really a face, or is it the way the light is shining? Is there our camera exposure? What is it? So HATMAN sometimes appears as pareidolia because when we're looking quick in our room, sometimes at the corner of our eye, we'll see like a shadow shift, and it could be nothing, but we think we just saw a shadow person. Let me see. Did I miss any pictures? Let me check that I wanted to. I can go through them real quick for my people that came in a little bit later because of the Facebook problem. Okay, so we started off, again, just to cliff notes it back, and then we can talk about if you guys want to have ever had sleep paralysis or something you want to put in the chat, or if you believe in the HATMAN, yes or no. So again, we started with 17th century England. This was their version of a HATMAN. It's pretty much as a witch hunter. There was a version of a witch hunter that wore a brimmed hat and would affect you on the supernatural level. So they lived, or they appeared in the cosmic level, whatever you want to call the veil, and they would hunt you that way. Again, this is a horrible time to be alive because no matter what, all they had to do was look at you and say you're a witch, and next thing you know, you're gone because those tests were horrific and you could not pass them. So that's how we get the brimmed hat. I'm telling you, like our brains do something over time, like this image equals evil. Starts there. And then we move on to I'm just repeating, guys. We moved on to the Industrial Revolution. A lot of children were forced to work back then. This was way before child labor laws. Children work. I mean, there's still countries where children work, but this was really bad then. And children were being affected by what they call the long-faced black man because he would appear in their rooms when they were sleeping. He was completely pitch black, no hat or nothing. Excuse me, but it was their form of a shadow person and it would affect them. A lot of times, usually they were sick. And if you're very sick and feverish, sometimes you can hallucinate. I wasn't there, so I don't know which one it was, but I just want to throw that out. And then where did we go next? Oh, Germany. Next, we went to Germany. And he is called, I always mess up his name so bad, guys. It's the oh my goodness, where did he go? Oh, no, that's Japan. Hold on. There he is. The Schwarze Man, or in German, he's also called the Black Man. He is used by, my brain does this. Oh, your brain sees faces and things. Almost every human being, our brain naturally does that. It's called pareidolia. Your brain is meant to see patterns. I'm telling you, like you'll like maybe for a second look over and you'll see something. Have you ever seen something at the corner of your eye? It's a weird phenomenon. Our brain is amazing in itself. I mean, the fact that we're even here, it's a thing. So this guy affects disobedient children. Is a law, of course, in Germany. You would tell your child, hey, if you don't behave, listen to me, this guy right here, he's going to come get you. As you can see in the picture, he wears a tall hat, their version of a HATMAN. Let me see. My thing is being really slow, guys. I'm sorry. And our Latin American, if he wasn't in here, I'm just kind of for anybody that missed it, El Sambario. I always butcher his name. He pretty much attacks mostly women. Not really attack, but he will come while you're sleeping. And he braids your hair and affects your sleep. So he'll give you visions, mess with your thoughts. And you'll wake up with a nice long braid in your hair and you have no idea how it got there. He wears a hat. He wears all black. That's their version of the HATMAN. Yeah, I'm telling you, I need like somebody over here that can translate every word. Who did I miss? Oh, South Africa. In case you missed this guy. This guy's cool. The Tokoloshi. He is really hairy, guys. He appears mischievous. He wears a cloak and a hat sometimes too. And he affects people just like he affects you during sleep paralysis, things like that. If you wake up in South Africa and culture, you wake up in your sleep paralysis, you're probably going to see him. Obviously you can see the HATMAN anywhere in the world, but these are more cultural specific. I really enjoyed this live on YouTube versus Facebook, so I'm grateful for the glitch. Really? Well, it's always on YouTube too, guys, just so you guys know. It plays on both, but for some reason I cannot get it to play. Unless it's doing it now, I just don't know it. But I could not. It started and it ended my live. Just a reminder, if you have a Middle Eastern culture, they have jinns. Jinns live on a parallel universe from ours. I mean, dimension, not universe. Parallel dimension from ours, but they can peek in. The reason that jinns are associated with the HATMAN is because a jinn can appear as anything it wants to be. Man, woman, child, animal, whatever. But a lot of times they wear some kind of hat and scarf. There's their version of a HATMAN. I'm so thankful for you, Heidi. I'm thankful for everybody that's here. I'm really, guys, I'm so grateful because you guys could be anywhere else and you chose to listen to me ramble. I'm very, very blessed for you guys. Oh, Japan. I talked about this guy in Japan. This is usually a monk that broke his vows. He will come affect you while you're sleeping. You wake up and there's this guy and this is the picture, he's on her face licking it. I hope nobody's licking my face when I wake up. But if you're in Japan, there you go. Remember, he is meant to let you know that, hey, there's an imbalance somewhere. yin and yang, and you ain't balanced. It's time to fix this, or I'm going to continue to taunt you. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Yes, I saw a cluster of faces one time when I opened my eyes and looked at my iron night. Yeah, scared me. Grateful for connecting. Yes. Yes, a lot of people will see that. And so what they'll do is they'll take a picture. I had somebody I posted a picture of a battlefield, and it was woods, and she swore, she was like, that's a soldier's face right there. And I was like, it's a pile of leaves. No, it's a soldier's face. And I was like, well, maybe it is. I mean, I'm not gonna tell you it's not, because I mean, you know, but for me personally, if it was the way that the light hit the leaf, and I was like, I don't know, it looks like pareidolia. But again, I could be horribly wrong. Of course, I want it to be a face. I would love for it to be a face, but like, look what I got, guys. It's just not sometimes that easy. Yes, Heidi, I'm so thankful. Dawn, did you come in from my shared post in our community? Oh, you shared it to the community, Amy. Thank you so much. I am so grateful. Did I miss any of the beings that I talked about? Oh, I didn't bring back up these freaky ones in Australia. In Australia, these are dark watchers. Again, these are usually represent some kind of warning sign. So if you see these in your life over there, they're telling you, hey, something's about to happen. It's not always bad news. Sometimes it's good news, but still scary looking either way. I'm so thankful for that. Appreciate that. Okay. So what do I think? Oh, I forgot to mention, just to be clear, some people believe that these are extraterrestrial beings watching us. And it could be. I mean, again, I 100% don't know. I give you 50 different theories of what it could be. But there's nobody that's on Earth right now that can tell you exactly what it is, because he's not sitting next to me talking to us. So we don't know. I think that, I don't know if I would say extraterrestrial. He is some form of being, whether it be extraterrestrial, conscious being that watches us. I fully believe he's just watching us. I don't hear stories where he's hurt anybody. I'm still gathering stories together, but so far throughout, I've been doing this since I was 16. I'm 38. I've never had one HATMAN story. Now, please don't confuse him with a demon, because that's a whole different story, where a HATMAN has hurt anybody. He's very scary when you wake up, because if you wake up and there's a man sitting in your room with a brimmed hat, you're gonna like freak out. Obviously, most people would. But I've never once heard anybody say that they were hurt, scratched, anything. Usually he's there. You will see him. He might stay there for a couple of seconds, and then he disappears, or he shifts. Again, I think he goes into a different dimension or timeline, whatever you want to call it. So for me personally, I think he's a watcher. A lot of people will say he's extraterrestrial, and he could be that too. I mean, if you look at extraterrestrial culture and the species of extraterrestrials, there's so many. So who knows? I do not care what anybody says. I don't think he's a demon. I'm actually willing to die on that hill. He's not a demon, because demons do hurt. They hurt, they torment, they have a purpose, and it's not to stand there and watch you. Could he be of the angelic field? I don't know. I mean, angels have different versions of what they look like too. We see all these pretty, beautiful, divine looking angels, but if you've ever seen what an angel really looks like, it's pretty scary with all the eyes and things like that. It's pretty, it can be terrifying. But usually divine beings have some kind of beautiful golden light around them when they appear. It can be different colors, but it's usually very bright and pretty. So I reflect back on, I personally in my heart think he is just a watcher. He is observing. Maybe he follows throughout the generations. I do believe in generational stuff. So if you have a family member that does certain things, and it can trickle on down through the generations. Could it be that? Sure. Not sure. But I just wanted to bring light on what it is. Of course, I always tell people, if you see something in your home, or man, you are in control, tell them, hey, you're not welcome here. You need to bounce. If you are being tormented, obviously reach out and get help. There's plenty of people out there that will help you. Let me know, and I can maybe direct you depending on where you're at in the world. But you're in control. And so don't let these things take over your life. But if you guys don't have any other questions, I'm going to wrap this up. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I didn't ramble too much. I have a couple cool shows coming up, and I'm hoping to get Glenda back I'm waiting for Glenda to tell me her schedule so she can come back for Akashic Records, and it's going to be really good. So stay tuned for that. But I have some other shows lined up in the meantime. That's going to be a good time and a lot of fun. And it won't always be dark and scary. It's going to be some light shows too, of fun. And I have some Archangel stuff with miracles and things like that. That's really uplifting and happy. I think it's Clint Eastwood. That would be cool. If it's Clint Eastwood, he needs to at least hold on. I need an interview. I just thought it got canceled on Facebook. Wasn't sure. No, I shared it, and then like I was waiting to start the show, and it ended my live, and I was like, "What's going on?" But the staff is working on it in the background right now to try to figure it out for next time. Oh, thank you, Dawn, for coming. Thank you, thank you. Oh, Heidi, I'm so grateful for you. All right, guys. Well, I've kept you for almost an hour now, so I'm gonna let you guys go. I will be back at 9 p.m. Eastern time next Friday. I will post tomorrow. I'm still debating on. I have a list of what I'm gonna do, so I'm gonna pick one, and I will post tomorrow what my next topic will be. So please bring your questions or comments or concerns and chat with me. Thank you guys so very much. I'm going to go ahead and end this. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Make sure you do something for yourself. And remember, the full moon is on Sunday. So if you're somebody that partakes in the pink moon, enjoy that beautiful energy. And thank you so much. Have a good night, guys.